Good morning, fellow Ambazonians. Today, na Tuesday, number 13 day for this number 9 month for the year 2022. My name na Capo Daniel, the Deputy Defense Chief and the spokesperson of the Ambazonian Governing Council, aka Sense Pass King, our own countryman. Una welcome to our daily podcast, a program where we bring una meaningful information, the truth, fact-based analysis for help we as we walk through this journey to our freedom, the independence of Ambazonia. Good citizens of Ambazonia, we start today with the newsway it come from the great state of Bui. Say the unit of the Splinter Bui Warriors group led by General Maddog under the command of General Big Vulture, it done lost soldiers them in the hands of the enemy, the terrorist Cameroon military, who break into the hospital in BBH and pull them out from the hospital bed and execute them. But first, we'll enter into the update in our territory. Today, the 13th day will get us into another day of a new week in our community school. The community school is a big program that have come to bear a lot of fruit for Ambazonia. It has been in the workings for over the years. And for 2 years, we have worked very hard to make sure that it is not just an Ambazonian issue, but it is something that will draw the international support for Ambazonian recognition of our own education system that is being managed by our own community, owned by our own people. The Ambazonian Governing Council is campaigning for the IG groups and every other Ambazonian factions, activists, and stakeholders to not only support community school, but to adopt for the minimum the guidelines and the principle that the Ambazonian Governing Council have put forth. It is very crucial that we get this right. It is for our own people. It is for the interests of Ambazonian children. Despite all the differences, it is agreed generally that the Ambazonian people do not only deserve, but massively support the idea and the policy of the community school and have embraced it. Those who have seek to sabotage, stop, or disagree with community school for whatever reason or the other have been resisted by our civilian. And the recent publication by the prosecutor of the ICC, Mr. Khan Karim, have substantiated the claims that have been made by the Governing Council that the issue of community school is being used in diplomacy against Ambazonia. And it is very important that we all adopt it. We know that Mr. Khan is a close friend of Bala, who have exploited this friendship to work and push the agenda of Cameroon to sabotage, defame, and distort Ambazonia projection of our education policy. In the face of all this evidence, it would be the right thing to do for every Ambazonian to support community school. It is the only way sustainable for us to be effective to prosecute our struggle together with our population. The Ambazonian Governing Council and the APLM have had a bilateral meeting in London that involves the toppest of our leadership on both camps. The meeting was successful. We are waiting for a public statement that will provide more perspective for the Ambazonian people. Throughout the weekend, we have had several meetings with other Ambazonian factions, stakeholders, to also push them not to be bystander in community education in the light of the killing of our innocent civilian in a civilian vehicle in Kumba Boya Road and the killing of civilians by Ambazonian forces in an enforcing of a lockdown that is counterproductive to our education system. We think the IG can no longer have an ambiguous policy of education. They must reconsider their policy, and we are suggesting and we are advocating to all the various IG groups to adopt our community school guidelines and end the impression that our liberation is against schooling. This is not only dangerous As we have seen that it has led to the loss of civilian life, it has also led our soldiers to put their life at risk for no justifiable reasons. It has also cost the life of valiant Ambazonian soldiers who could have been doing better to fight for our freedom. For us, putting our community school side by side to demonstrate to the world that 90% of education is under Ambazonian control would have been perfect. The education issue have become center stage as we have been able to define the issue in an Ambazonian perspective, and the debate is on even within La République du Cameroon. Listen.
Right. I think the issue of community school in Cameroon is because in some areas it is alleged that the separatists do occupy some areas where education in some areas is seemingly being managed by them, which is where the state feels like some other governance or some other forces are managing the territory where they designate which particular area should have education. We shouldn't forget that education is not limited to a specific space. In times like this, our focus is to see that our children do not sit at home. They should have an education. When UNICEF and other institutions come in to assist the people on the ground, which you find it today in most areas where some local NGOs are struggling to see that the children do not take the entire period which they have and waste it. Some have created what we call safe spaces. And within these safe spaces, the major focus is to ensure that the children are taught on these two counts. You have numeracy and literacy. The focus there is to ensure that they should be able to read and write. They should be able to count, which is...
So that was a debate that has been aired on multiple FM and even on Cameroon propaganda CRTV. It brings to the forepoint of the recognition that Ambazonians are governing areas within our territory. These schools falls within that realm. It also has substantiated the advances we have made with the international community to support community school through UNICEF and other human rights organizations that works on the ground. Ambazonia have already defeated Cameroon in over 80% of our territory. They don't have any Cameroon administration, and our forces must, as a matter of sustainability, allow their communities and villages to set up this community school under their instruction, authority, and guidelines. We are there to assist any force with our experience, and we are there to offer even our curriculum to be suggested to the teachers at this stage. We are at the early stage, but this is so far the biggest victory we have had, with the return back of over 100% in certain areas of our students, especially in rural areas, and even in urban areas. We have also had a huge return of our people back from La République. All Ambazonian forces, all of them, we are appealing to them to adopt this policy. Independence means independence. And just to throw in another argument that may help anybody who is considering, remember that when the common law lawyer, they were faced with Cameroon assimilation policies in the judiciary, the first thing they did was to create their own common law bar association. So the creation of Ambazonian community schools by the governing council should not be seen as something new or something strange or something that you must reject simply because it does not come from you or you do not even champion it. It should be embraced as the only way to sustain our campaign for independence in a reasonable and sensible manner. The interaction between our soldiers and the civilians helps them to moderate their activities and also help to curb excesses. They should also adopt our community mobilization and governance policy in creating the transitional authority we have done on the ground. We are opening these policies up for all Ambazonian factions and all communities. On the ground, we have been doing so, visiting and mobilizing civilians, council, to be able to run issues because we have removed Cameroon, we must create an alternative. This is one of the secrets why the ADF camps have always had the community support. And even not the ADF. You can take a look in the great state of Boyo. During the time when I used to run the British Southern Cameroon Resistance Forces, even before I came there, there was a lot of interaction with the community that was active at that stage. We almost had zero excesses in Boyo, and that should be a model. Not just the ADF, I think other forces will also have the same experience. We should not just reject things because it does not come from us. It also come from the things we have also come from our communities. It will be the right thing to do, and we hope within this month, as we get into this late September, we'll be hearing the speech for the governing council, and hopefully we'll have some goodwill from other Ambazonians to adopt these policies. It is good for us. It is good for our kids. We will fight and we will adjust our psychology. We will be effective in carrying out our guerrilla tactics with our population behind our back. They are our first lines of defense. We are because of them. Umbutu. Back to the great state of Bui, when the forces of General Maddog, the former forces of the Bui Warrior, who are also part of the Bui Unity Warrior, an alliance group with the ADF, who have lost a number of soldiers in the great state of Bui. According to the information we are gathering from the field, their forces are the unit that was in Kumbu to enforce lockdown. The soldiers, after they had made the control, the route that they had used to get into that particular location was compromised, and on their return back, when their guards were down, they were ambushed by Cameroon terrorists. The Cameroon terrorists, they succeeded to kill some of our brave heroes of the Splinter group of Bui Warrior. They killed some of them, and some of them were wounded. These soldiers, they found themselves in the care of the Baptist hospital, and the Cameroon terrorist occupation forces, they came into that hospital, probably being tipped off, according to the information we are hearing, that these soldiers were taking help from the hospital. They removed the hospital. Across the road from the hospital, they were executed. This is a war crime. Soldiers who are wounded and who are seeking medical help or who find themselves in the hospital are considered as people not involved anymore in the fighting by international law, and they should not be targeted. There have been Cameroon military personnel that are seeking help in hospitals across our territory in Ambazonia. There have been no incident where Ambazonian fighters have gone into hospitals to look for or to arrest or neutralize any Cameroon military personnel. And this is not the first time our soldiers have been killed, removed from the care of the hospital. There is still an outstanding arrest warrant for the questioning of Bishop Andrew Carl in Bamenda, who refused that the hospital should not put out a statement because he is covering up for Cameroon crimes. The Baptist hospital will be and should be held accountable for the life of those who were under their care and they have been killed. The least the Baptist hospital and the Baptist convention can do is to put out a statement to clearly articulate and put as fact of the events that took place within their premises. This involved the loss of human life that was in their care, and they need to account to the public, even to their own people, to reassure them that their facilities are not military facilities. This is not the first encounter and first issue that we have had with the Baptist Convention. We have also seen that the Baptist hospital in Oko have been transformed into a Cameroon military barracks. We are not going to allow any medical facility in Ambazonia to have Cameroon terrorist forces as guard or stationed within their premises. It will no longer be tolerated. They are an imminent threat to our soldiers, to our civilian, and they are an aggressor in our territory. Almost 2 years ago, there was an incident where in Sop, in the great state of Bui, a Cameroon Baptist vehicle was stopped And inside that vehicles, it was transporting chairs and furnitures for the occupation forces. That is unacceptable. We have also seen that previously in BBH, in Bingo Baptist Hospital, Ambazonian fighters who had seek help there or who were receiving help in these facilities were also picked up by the Cameroon military after being tipped off. Ambazonian forces have their own medic. They don't seek to use civilian facilities to treat themselves. But if somehow forces have found themselves in the care of medical facilities, they should at least have an accountability from those people who were expected to give them care and shelter. For this reason, the Baptist hospital where the soldiers were picked up are expected to come up and show that their hands are clean and making statement to affirm what has happened. Failure to do so, those people who are in charge of those hospitals should be brought in for questioning. They should be arrested. They should be questioned for a full investigation to know what is happening in that hospital. We know that the Cameroon government have always don't care about our civilians having health hospitals. They have kicked out Doctors Without Borders. There have been an incident where a gun exchange in Mezam took place with Cameroon military, and in the crossfire, a vehicle was shot at, and a Cameroon Baptist nurse who were working in the Bingo Annex were killed in that incident, which we had apologized to the Baptist Convention because it was an issue of misidentity. Our soldiers were in the middle of a battle was ongoing, and when that vehicle approached them, they opened fire believing it was a Cameroon military. Somehow they were not, but they were Baptist staffs inside that vehicle. This is a call for concern. These multiple incidents are a call for concern. We do not want to antagonize the whole Baptist Convention or all their facilities or make their staff member become subject of suspicion for our people who are fighting for their freedom and for our soldiers who are providing the vanguard rule. So the Baptist Church, the Baptist Convention, they must react and they must make public statement to this effect. Failure to do so will make them suspicion, and there will be reason for further investigation. A little bit more aggressive investigation in this light might ensue. We have had multiple conversations with our allied and our sister forces and with our ADF forces who have all raised the same concern. We hope that this will be treated in good faith and no bad faith should be shown by the Baptist Church or the Baptist Convention. How things will go down will depend entirely on them. But make no mistake, we will not stay quiet in the midst of all this thing when there is a security challenge. Once again, fellow citizens, to round up, we are calling on all villages, all communities in Ambazonia should take the responsibility to set up their community school. Those community schools should be authorized, registered, and follow strict guidelines. There have been some news that are coming in from Bamenda that the colonial terrorists in chief, Lele Afrique, have been putting pressure on our community schools to adopt a form of uniform since they have all rejected Cameroon guidelines to start to use trousers and skirts for ladies only in Bamenda. We have been fully briefed by this push, and all Ambazonian community schools have rejected it. But for one school, St. Michael in New Road in Quen, is the only school that have accepted to work with the enemy, with the butchers, with the terrorist Cameroon government. They have asked their students that girls should put on black skirt and boys should put on black trouser, and they can put on assorted shirts and blouse for ladies to disguise and in a form put some form of uniform. We are asking on all parents whose kids are going to this particular school that if this happen coming Tuesday, they should withdraw all their students from that school, because that school will be docked from the foundation. I mean it. Listen to me and listen very carefully. Any school that will breach our guidelines, the proprietor and every staff member in that school will go down for it. Every staff in that school will be held responsible. If this school go ahead this Tuesday, to put on black trousers. Black trousers are banned in this particular school. If any students put on these black trousers or girls put on this black skirt in any significant way, we are asking on our community in Bamenda and the parents of those particular schools to identify all staff members, I mean all, including wash night, will not be spared. There will be zero tolerance, not even 0.10. Thank God we have a new barracks in Quen, and working with the guys in Foya, like it or not, the 7 Kata, we will make sure that we enforce this to the letter. And there is good news coming in from Bafut as well, from the 7 Kata, from our meetings with them in regards to community school. We'll continue to engage them and wait to see whether they'll endorse or embrace our policy. There have been issues concerning curriculum. We'll make them available, but for right at the moment, we are pushing only for guidelines. So God bless you all. Capo Daniel signing off. Background music is coming from the great state of Momo.